actually opening PayPal's core business to an outside entity for developers like you guys. In the past, PayPal always used to operate in a model where, how many of you guys, by the way, know PayPal? How many of you guys know PayPal X? Okay, there are quite a few. So the fundamental difference is that in the past, PayPal has always been, a safe, secure way to pay on a merchant site, whether it be, you're buying stuff on eBay, whether you be, buying stuff on, Emirates Airlines. We have presence on all the big merchants. But now what we decided to do is, listen, these are big fellows. That's good. It gives us significant business. But we want to take PayPal to the next level, where we want to introduce a platform and open it up for any innovators or developers who might have a lot of talent, but they have issues with implementing those. Because a lot of ideas that you guys have today, you guys can only take it to a certain point. And then once you realize that, hey, you know what, it's good, let me go ahead and start monetizing my business. You go approach to the bank or any acquiring agency, and they say, well, that's good. How much revenue are you guys going to bring? Is your business $20 million or $10 million? And there are different tasks to get, to monetize your business. And that's where a lot of developers just give up, saying that, hey, you know what, we can only go this far now. You're talking about PCI compliance, all those issues. It's just not my expertise. What we bring on the table is that, we take care of all that. You guys focus on your core competencies and hook up to this adaptive payment APIs and start monetizing your business. Now, well, I was thinking actually, why do we have so many people in the session today? And I just realized that, the Bangalore team lost. So you guys might have thought that might just, go to the GIDS and start attending. And this blue jersey, by the way, does not mean Mumbai. It's happened so that PayPal also has blue. But the good news is that each of you guys have a chance for those 15 spots in the Royal Challengers team. If you guys are thinking of, changing your career path in cricket, who knows? You guys can get a good, decent position in the cricket team. All right, so let me go ahead and start that. The agenda, I'm going to keep it brief. What I want to do is, focus mostly on the SDKs because this is a workshop. And then most of the time should be spent on the SDKs, anything beyond 5 and through 10. But let me just spend some time on the top slides to talk about how PayPal works, what's the business, and what's the rationale behind this. So let's talk about, well, by the way, this is our Twitter. You guys should follow it. This is the hashtag that you guys can use if you want to, see the updates for this event or PayPal X in general. So building and running an app is cheap. So what does that mean? A lot of, innovators didn't realize that how cheap it is to build and run an app and even monetize it. Because today, you guys, you're experts in building applications, you have solutions, but you can't monetize, right? So that's one thing I wanted to stress, that you guys focus on building an app and also running it, and leave the money part to us, because we have the expertise on that. What is a successful and profitable company? What does it really need? It needs a monetization strategy, right? At the end of the day, no matter what you sell, your talent, your skill, any application you develop for your third party, I'm sure that you guys are professional engineers, and then you guys work for some good companies, right? At the end of the day, it's just the bottom line that they look at, right? How is your success measured? Well, you as a developer, maybe not. But as a company, the success is actually measured by looking at the bottom line, how much revenue this is going to bring. So let's assume that you are an independent developer. And things are changing in India. In the past, people are always the mindset that, hey, I'm supposed to get good education, get into a good engineering college, find a very good job in a high-tech, multinational, I guess, company, and then that my future is set. But things are changing. People are now willing to take risk. People want to be innovative. They want to go one-off after they're done with their education and start their own business. And that's what we begin to realize, that, okay, India is growing by the second. And they're trying to, have these new ideas. But obviously, there are a lot of limitations because people are not able to monetize those ideas. Now, typically, how do you guys think people make money? So let's assume that you create a search engine or any sort of, a travel website. You rely on these ads that pops up every now and then. I mean, if you look at like any news, online news, whether it be Deccan Chronicle or I don't know which one is famous in the Bangalore, but you notice that everything is free. So the hard copy of the newspaper does not sell out that much because it's available online. And you guys know that how much people are getting online and getting access to that content. So how does those people make money? Preferably, they have these advertising bars that pops up every now and then, and that's how they're making money, right? And what else you guys think is going to, are different avenues of making money? Not too many, because there is no other opportunities for you guys to think about. You are actually restricted to take your talent beyond a certain geography, right? Let's say you guys know Bangalore very well, you have some connections, and then you build this application. You're only reaching out to these consumers in this area. And then you take it one step further. Now you're probably doing a couple of states around your region, and then you take it one step further, and maybe you might go all the way to India, but you're still restricted. The good thing about PayPal is that we are a global company. We operate in 190 countries, and we have support 24 currencies. Today, you guys can open a PayPal account and hold 24 currencies in your PayPal account, which means that you can create an application and have your customers buying from all part of the world. It's not restricted to Bangalore, it's not restricted to Karnataka, it's not restricted to India. You can actually have a person, sitting on the shores of LA buying your application, buying your talent. So these are some of the use cases that we're going to talk about today. How different developers created these, cool applications as a part of PayPal X platform, and then, and what sort of a benefit they're seeing through this. So let's quickly take an overview of how this payment in general works. So the moment you think about payment, always think about there are two parties involved. There's a sender and the recipient. So that's pretty much it, right? Because the sender is the person who's actually sending the money, and the recipient is the person who's receiving the money. So this is a typical conventional way of doing things. But what the platform that we created was there's a third entity to this, which is an API caller, right? Because this is all based on web services. So you guys can be an API caller and then be neither of these and just sit on the side, facilitate the payment, and you guys can have an agreement with the recipient, who could be a merchant, to take commission every time the money moves. Or you can be one of these two, right? Obviously, you're not going to be a sender and receiver. It doesn't make sense sending money to yourself. But you can be a sender, right? When you're talking about building an application for a company who wants to disperse payments, like, commissions, right? So you can be a sender and the caller at the same time and dispersing money to this multiple recipient. Or you could be a merchant. You could create an application, an online application who actually does ticketing for IPL tournament, right? How much convenient it is today for buying tickets on IPL? Do you guys know? I was on a flight, actually. I was trying to get the tickets for the game in Bangalore. But unfortunately, the game got moved, so I didn't know how that chargeback was going to work, but it was painful. Yeah, I couldn't do it. Good thing about PayPal is that, it's not restricted to an online PC purchase. Today, we are working with a lot of vendors who are coming with these devices which are internet-enabled. Whether it be a refrigerator, whether it be, a TV set, all these new consumer electronics are rolling out their internet TVs. They're internet-enabled. So basically, all these devices have an Ethernet cable that can go in the back and start talking to the internet. So that's all we need, right? As a company, all we need is, or as a technology, what we need is an internet connection. Once you have that, the money can move between two entities. Now, just not think about this as a device, a restricted to device or PC. We also have mobile payments. You can enable us through the mobile channel. So a lot of good different opportunities. But just to look at some of the use cases, there's so many. I mean, employer-employee, right? You can create an app for that. You can actually create an app for like a business and supply. If you want to do a supply chain model, you can probably do that. A citizen paying to the government, utility, right? Just create a utility for Karnataka water supply or electricity. You can probably create that application and sell it to the government. And then, definitely make money out of it. So this is the different types of payments that happens. Traveler's checks, bill payments, check, ACH, credit cards, net-based payments, many other payments. Now, the good thing about that is each of these payments has a unique feature and attribute, right? Because a lot of people have their preferences. And today the problem is that not all gateways actually provides you that capability. So let's assume that some people wants to use checks, right? They prefer checks. They want money to be coming out of their bank. Some people prefer quick, instant payments. They use their debit card. Some people say, I don't want to touch my money in the bank. I always use credit card because it gives me miles, some incentives. There are a lot of different ways you want to pay. But the problem is, it's very cumbersome. A lot of gateways do not accept all these. And the one that does, you're popping out your credit card every time. You're typing in, and then and the biggest issue today is that the trust. How many of you are comfortable flipping your credit card out and giving to a website that you don't know of? Not too many. In the US, people are very hesitant. They just don't want to give their credit card information on any website. Yes, if it's the Emirates Airlines or any big merchant, yes, those are secure. But a lot of people are just not comfortable. That's where PayPal adds value. So let me talk quickly about a credit card system. What happens, when you, let's say, are entering a credit card information online or handing a credit card on a point of sale machine, which is that unit that sits on the merchant side, and the merchant takes your credit card and swipes it. So what exactly happens behind the scene? You're talking about milliseconds when you get that receipt and says the payment is done, and you sign it. So basically what's happening is the acquiring bank, which is the bank of that merchant who's actually providing you this access, talks to this payment system, goes all the way to your issuing bank. So let's say you have a Citibank credit card, right? You just swiped at this merchant, and this merchant might have SBI account. So SBI provides a gateway. It goes talk to SBI and say, okay, this guy's looking for a transaction. They're going to talk to the payment system, which is the Visa network and everything, and it will come back to the Citibank saying that, hey, is this card legitimate? And if it is, then this Citibank is going to go and put a dot against that transaction. That, okay, this is legitimate. It's not a lost card. We never have any issues with it. We approve it. And then once that is done, you're getting an instant response back of the settlement piece. And that's where that printout is coming on the merchant side. Or, when you're online, you get that confirmation. Thank you for your payment for buying Kingfisher Airline tickets, whatever merchant you are using. Yeah, because they have to put an entry that this was successful. Now, this is not settlement. This is just, the first attempt. This is authorization, right? And after that, what happens is the settlement happens. So every night, depending on what business model they have this capture mode where the money, so they send that reference because there's a reference number, right, that is debited, and it goes back to the Citibank. So they actually go and deduct money out of your account, and then it goes back to the money moves to that bank. And that's why you guys notice that the moment you swipe a credit card, you get your merchandise, you get the receipt, you sign it, but as soon as you log in your account, Citibank account, you don't see that, it says pending. And that's what that pending is, right? So I don't want to spend too much time on this, but in general, I just want to educate you how it works. Same with chargebacks. If somebody wants to say, hey, I'm not comfortable with the product, I don't like it, they file a chargeback, same reason. Now this time it's the reverse thing, because now you as a merchant is going to your issuer, Citibank, and saying, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. This was not me. I didn't charge this. So they will file a chargeback back to the merchant, and then the merchant would do the same. So exactly what you saw, but in the reverse order, right? Now, so this is how, the chargeback, it's going to go back and credit your consumer's account from the merchant's account. Debit card is a little different. It goes to the issuer, yes, and it comes back to the acquiring or the acquirer bank. But the difference here is the money is moved real time. There's no auth capture logic here because the money is getting out of your bank account immediately. There's no credit concept. The moment you swipe your debit card, it's happening real time. Another thing is your banks and ACH. They also, they follow the same model. But again, the difference is that money is moving the batch. It's not real time because it's bank, it's ACH. So some logic has to be in place to settle these. So what I want to do quickly is show you a video. How's PayPal play a role in all this? And this would give you guys a good overview. Now, I do not have an audio cable, so So maybe what I'll do is I'll use my mic. You guys can hopefully listen.
The web is like the biggest shopping mall ever. In fact, you can go window shopping for almost anything through your browser window. Yet having a world of choice at your fingertips can become a headache. Trying to find your credit card whenever you want to buy something, typing in lines and lines of personal and financial information, and the threat of fraud and identity theft, which can really take the fun out of shopping. But what if you had, say, an online wallet? One that had all of your information there at the ready and ensured that all your credit card numbers and personal information was safe, sound, and secure. Well, that's sort of what PayPal is, a way to make online shopping fast, fun, and rewarding. Here's how it works. You visit a website, and choosing PayPal as a payment option, buy something, say a pair of bunny slippers. All you need to do is log into your PayPal account, review your information, confirm the payment, and you are done. What's left to do now for you is enjoy your purchase when it arrives. And signing up is quick and easy on the PayPal site. After creating an account, link your bank account to your PayPal account. You can also link your credit card. It's just as easy. Both your credit card and bank account information are secure with PayPal. So enjoy shopping online, sending money and getting paid using PayPal. Get ready, get set, get PayPal.
So that was a quick video explaining you guys how this would work. So as the ad says, it's very simple. It truly is. As I mentioned, the experience is seamless. No, consumer not charged for this. So you guys can create an application, right? And there has to be a value proposition. Why would the consumer choose PayPal, right? If you're charging them money and all this overhead, he's not gonna. You're scaring him away. So no, the consumer does not pay anything through transaction fee. So the good thing about all these APIs that I'm talking about, and I want to stress that at the end as well, is they're absolutely free. It does not cost any money. So it's an opportunity just out there. It's just that you guys need to realize and grab it. Yeah?
Let's say I set up a merchant site.
Yeah.
So I have to pay PayPal fee for allowing that service to my consumers?
No. So when you actually open an account or use our adaptive payment, the new platform APIs, and integrate them with your merchant account, we don't charge you a service fee for that. We only charge you money when you start receiving funds. So as a part of transaction fee. Yeah, so there will be a transaction fee.
As a merchant, I pay.
A transaction fee.
Right.
Yeah.
Not as a consumer.
Not as a consumer. Yeah.
Are Indian banks supported yet?
Yeah. How many? 15 or 18 banks? All major banks are immediate support.
I can link them to my PayPal account.
Yep.
That is not possible. That's pretty old.
I'm sorry, there are too many questions. What was that comment?
First of all, PayPal, I'm not sure it's connecting right now to Indian banks. It's Preapproved, which is connecting.
No, it's connecting. I have an account connected with last 7 years back.
Yeah.
ICC account, credit card.
Yeah.
It's
Pretty good. Pretty good.
But you.
Ensure that your bank, the branch that you have, has an NEFT code, right? There is a concept called NEFT code, and if the bank's branch has the NEFT code, then that branch. But if it doesn't, then it's not.
Right.
NEFT.
So TGS is supported. Real-time gross settlement.
Is real-time gross settlements.
That's through RBI. I mean, it's
So-
more faster and
Yeah, so guys, let's hold off on the questions. The reason I say that is that there's a workshop session, right? That's what I want to open up for the questions. I'm sure that you guys have more, but let's go through most of these slides. Then you guys will get more concept as to what exactly is done. I think most of your questions might already be covered in the slides. All right, so the platform, right? Basically pay anyone and receive money from anyone. That's pretty much the logic, right? You're not restricted to any geography. You can pretty much, use it across the globe. By the way, is my sound okay? I keep moving the mic, but is it okay back there? Okay. And then all you need is just an email address and a phone number. That's pretty much you need, right? If you want to send money to somebody in UK, all you need is the phone number. Now, I just want to still emphasize that the phone numbers in India are not supported at the very moment, but they will be pretty soon. But for now, you guys can use an email. So let's say that you want to send money to somebody. All you need is an email address, and let's assume that email address is not registered with PayPal. No issues. You send the money to that email. We will contact that person through our notification channel and say, hey, XYZ has sent you money. Do you want to claim this money? If he says yes, he will open a quick PayPal account and withdraw the funds. If he does not claim it, he said, I don't know this guy, we will make attempts to contact him. If not, then we push the money back. So money's, it's not getting lost or anything. It'll go back to your account. So what I'm trying to say is that you don't really have to be a PayPal user to begin with. You can start sending money to your friends, and once they come on board, they get, withdraw the money.
Withdrawing is a transfer to my bank, leaves bank account. How do I return it?
To your bank. Just pump it back to your bank. Or you can maintain it to PayPal balance, because if you want to buy stuff on eBay, you can maintain balance as well. But you can. Well, it depends on the mode of payments, right? If it's, if you're a merchant, right, and you started this application, then, you will have a negotiated rate with PayPal, right? And it depends. It varies from percentage to percentage. Yeah.
So will the friend be charged, or if he is sending to me, will I be charged?
For now, I think it's a gray area. We are actually still working on that aspect because that's not really you purchasing a merchandise. You're sending money to your friend. So I'll probably hold off on that for now. But hopefully that fee part is not going to be in that kind of scenario, just to answer that question.
Yeah, but in this use case, who is paying the transaction fee?
So that's what I mentioned, that maybe nobody is going to pay this transaction. But we're still working with the government to make sure that, that's the right thing to do. Okay, so facilitate payments, manage accounts, information reporting. I mean, that's pretty much all you need. So this is the whole gamut of things that you would get as a part of a PayPal user. You can run reports. If you have a business intelligence built in your payment model. Are you guys familiar with the term IPN? Instant Payment Notification. So basically, a lot of these businesses who actually makes these applications, they don't really sit on their system 24/7 monitoring the money's coming in, right? And that's where they have this HTTP URL that they send in the request, and we will post a notification on that, and then they can have a business logic depending on that notification, if it's successful or if it's failed, So simple to advanced, enabling different kind of payments. Here's different types of things that you could do. And I'll talk about each of them or most of them as a part of the session. I think we already talked about this. Risk and fraud management. We have security. Compliance is a big issue because a lot of these small merchants, they get rejected. They work hard. They get the application. They create a killer application. But when they say, hey, you know what? We want to start accepting credit card on the website. So forget PCI compliance. They don't even get permission from the acquiring bank, just because their business is not, that. I don't want to say that great, but the payment volume is not that huge, because the risk that the bank is going to take is going to be, high stakes. And obviously, refund and chargeback also works. Settlements work with PayPal as any other model. So these are different products at PayPal. This is the checkout products, which are conventionally used for things like, if you want to open a shopping cart kind of experience, like eBay would be another example. And then these are different, like we already have our gateway, and then we have website Payment Pro. A lot of information on our website that you guys go in and talk and read about. But the focus of this session is the adaptive payment API. So this is the one that I was talking about. Is what we launched as a part of the platform, which will enable developers like you guys monetize your core business. So let's talk about what are the different use cases and how flexible are these APIs. So it's all about flexibility, and you should be able to configure that. Because today, some of our products serves limited market segments because they're designed for that, right? If you're doing an online purchase for a shopping, right, doing an online shopping on an e-commerce site, it's designed for that, specifically for that segment. But that may not be true for guys like you, because you might be creating an application which would be a utility app, which has nothing to do with online purchases. So these are some of the use cases I listed. Obviously, the list goes beyond this. that you guys can create. I'm not going to actually read this, but I'm going to talk about 4 of these items in much more detail. Send money, pre-approval, parallel split payments, as well as chain payments. What is send money? Basically just allowing, a transfer from a sender to recipient. You guys can pretty much, build that application and post it on, which is the most famous social networking site in India. Orkut? Orkut, yeah. You can actually create, because I think they have an application platform, right? They allow you to create applications for download. Yeah. So you can probably create one and call it whatever, friend matching. And it also enables and does payments. Why not? Pre-approved payments. This is a good one. A lot of people, they do not want to go through a payment approval process every time they want to purchase something, right? So let's assume that you're a heavy shopper at, any good merchant site that you guys can think of. You do a regular purchase on that site, right? eBay, okay, very good example. So eBay, when you go and bid for an item or buy it, you don't want to be going through PayPal every time to approve that payment. So what you would typically do is you sign up for a pre-approval agreement with eBay, right? And eBay is the API caller. So if you notice that the API, your agreement is actually between the caller and yourself, that you're authorizing eBay for, say, 1,000 rupees agreement, but at the same time, you don't want any transactions to be more than 100 rupees. So you can set up all those constraints. No, not more than 100 rupees per transaction, and you only want to do 5 transactions a month. I mean, there's so many constraints that you can set up as part of that agreement. But if you notice, the recipient is not identified at the time of the agreement. Because when you shop at eBay, you don't know which merchant you're going to buy from, right? So you cannot set up an agreement with eBay and saying that this is the recipient I'm going to buy from, because you don't know yet. So all you did was set up an agreement with eBay, and then after that, whenever you come to eBay and you like something, you will get a single-click experience. Because as long as that transaction is less than 100 rupees per transaction, the agreement that you guys set up, as long as it's not exceeding your maximum amount, it's going to go nowhere, right? So if it exceeds accidentally 200 rupees, you bid on it, then we will ask you to go back to the payment approval flow and do the payment. But if it's not, then it's a single-click experience. A lot of use cases that I'm seeing in the US these days are going and doing this for like rental apps. Today in Bangalore, what's the real estate like? If you want to rent an apartment, a decent apartment, what, 20,000 rupees, 15? I don't even know. Just throwing that number out there. But how easy is it for you guys to pay rent? Do you guys do checks? Do you cut checks and give them as rent or cash? Online transfers. Okay. So the application that is doing online transfers, did you guys realize that? Is it, how much money and time is involved in that? It may not be that simple, because there is a cost that your renter might be paying, right? The person who's actually receiving the funds might be paying some money. What about, is it like every time that you guys would have to authorize that? Can you automate it? Automation is possible. Okay. Same concept, but in a very less overhead cost. So you guys can create an application that does online rentals and go out to all these top little landlords and say, listen, we have a solution, and we can enable PayPal as a part of a payment for your collecting rents. Now, guess what? You just started an agreement. Let's say you sign up an agreement to settle those, right? But sometime, days are tough, things are tough. You're not able to maybe even make payment, right? So let's forget about pre-approval. You can have anybody in the US, your friend, your cousin, your brother, whoever, make payments for you. All you need is a PayPal account, which most likely is going to have it. So you're not restricting this that you are the one who's going to end up paying. I'm just saying that it's not a thing that you want to do anyway. Ask your brother, hey, can you just pay my rent? But it's possible. What are parallel payments? So basically, parallel payments are an ability for you guys to make payments to multi-recipients. So today, it wasn't that easy at PayPal. So if you're buying 3 different items, so forget eBay because it's our mother company, but if you go and buy items from a merchant, from a marketplace, you're actually making 3 separate payments, which is still true, but you're authorizing them 3 separate times. But now that restriction is removed. You can make one API request and have 3 recipients identified. and then make the payment at the same time. The key fundamental difference here is that when you log on as a sender, when you log on to your PayPal account, you will still see them as 3 separate transactions. So the record still says 3 transactions. A lot of use cases, marketplace, if you want to create social networking, Orkut, I think somebody said, you guys can create an application where you can disperse funds. So let's say that all of you guys, or few of your friends met for dinner. Somebody ended up paying, right? And then you ended up paying for coffee. So you can actually create this application in Orkut which disperse funds to friends at one time. Hey, friend X, this is for coffee. Friend Y, I owe you for lunch. Or friend Z, whatever that is, and you can actually disperse that in just one request.
So this can be set in percentages, like say for example, I have say X amount.
Yeah.
So 10% has to go to one debt, 20% has to go to one debt, something like.
So you don't really configure that with percentage. You configure that with amount. So when you make the request, you will say 100 rupees to this, 20 rupees to this, or 50 rupees to this, and then you based on your API request, you would identify and you call out those amounts. It's not percentage based, it's amount based.
It is something like profit sharing or commission sharing.
Yeah.
Like I am getting say 10 rupees from my customer as my commission.
Right.
Say for example, X percentage of that I have to pay as commission to some other services which I am subscribing to.
Right.
So in that case, is there any?
If you are the API caller, you can do the math.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that difficult. Yeah. The reason. Yeah. The reason we want to stay away from percentage is because things get very complicated. When you're dealing with a lot of different people, I put 3 recipients, right? Let's say these were like 10, right? When you're dealing with micro percentages, then, at some point, you're talking about dimes and cents. And then it gets very complicated. 1 cent, or 1 paisa, right? Who's going to take it? So that's why, we want to stay away from the percentage. Chain payment is one of the biggest and the most talked about application or feature that we have, which I guess will fit for all the business models that you guys may be thinking of. This is a model where you guys can actually create an application and start collecting commission as it sells. A good example for this is an airline. Today, a lot of people actually, go on these airline websites, right, like Orbitz or Travelocity or whichever, famous is out there. You think they end up going and buying a ticket from that? Do you guys know that? They don't. They're going there for window shopping. They're going there for price shopping. They just go on the website and see, okay, Kingfisher is paying 2,000 rupees, and I'm seeing smiles, so I'm sure that you guys do that. And then once you compare that, you go back to that airline and you buy the ticket and you realize that, hey, I just paid 100 rupees less or 500 rupees less. So now you know about the commission part. Now this model is going to reduce that gap. Because now you're making one payment to this primary recipient who could either be yourself or you could be residing on the back here. You don't want to be the merchant of record. You are the API caller. You create this application for, let's say, some airline company, right? Make My Trip, I think, right? So let's assume that you create Make My Trip, but that's an entity. You're just the guy who created the application. So you will be the API caller for them. But you're residing in the back. You're saying that, hey, whenever that ticketing is processed, I want my share. So the value proposition for you guys is, listen, you're not paying me anything until the ticket is sold. So I'm only making money when you're making money, right? Which is a great business model. A lot of people in the US are successful doing this because it's an extra added value for the airline company. Or I'm just picking airline, right? It could be anything. And if you notice, the visibility of the sender, the consumer, is just the primary recipient. The consumer does not necessarily know about this transaction. He doesn't care. Because he knows that I got an offer for 100 rupees, for $100 for the payment, and I'm good with it. But if you notice that this primary receiver only kept 10 rupees and passed the rest to the secondary recipient. So it could be a good example for your online travel agency, right? You are just taking 10 rupees of commission, but you ended up paying 40 for your airline and then another 50 for your hotel.
Are you not reversing the model here?
Yeah?
In a way. Currently, typically how it works is the consumer pays to the airline and then the commissions come back to the...
So airline can reside here, by all means, right? Airline can reside here. And then it could be, the commission would go to My Trip maybe and go to you guys if you created the application. Yeah, I mean, I'm just giving you as a use case, right? You can play with it. You can be any of these. Or as a matter of fact, you can be neither of these. You could be a third party X calling the APIs. And then you might have an agreement with one of these to pay me offline settlements. I mean, you can do that too.
So maybe receiving the call back, like say for example, I have a chain payment system
Mm-hmm.
using your PayPal ID.
Right?
So I am receiving an event like money is flowing, like say $100 is flowing. So automatically, can I make it? I mean, can I make it automate like that? Say if one event has happened with such and such characteristics, this has to be disbursed. The other amount has to be disbursed to other parties, like other services, automatically. Is it possible?
This is all instant payment.
Okay.
So the moment you actually, let's assume you're none of these, right? You just facilitate this payment. You actually design and define the relationship with all this. The 10 needs to go to this guy, 40 needs to go here, 50 needs to go here, right? And the money would instantly move. So this guy, when he logs on to his PayPal account, he's going to say that I received 100 and instantly 90 went out of my account. I only are left with 10. Yeah, so it's all instant. So you can also combine these features. You know, it doesn't have to be, you can actually do a pre-approval agreement and do chain payment at the same time. So that's the good part. What was that? The question? Yeah.
Can we have multiple recipients? We have two recipients at the moment.
Yeah.
One sender and it's going to primary receiver and then it's going to sub-receiver. Can I have?
Right. So that question is slide 33. I'll answer it in slide 33. So you can also do a parallel combination with pre-approval, right? Set up a pre-approval agreement with that caller, and the time of purchase, you can make parallel payments. Now, there are some limitations, and that's what you were asking is if you can do this, right? A combination of chain and parallel payments. Today, you can't. The reason for that is, you know, when I was designing these APIs, a lot of this works on instant, you know, responses. Because your entire business, your customer is waiting to get a response. The more you add, the more time is going to add to the SLA for settlements, right? Because each of this, at the end of the day in our system, are individual transactions, right? So for now, it's limited. It's not that we're not looking into it, but you know, it might probably come sometime in the future.
This feature can be taken care by the application itself, right? I mean, like not the PayPal API, but our customer, we have got an application which has all the features for parallel and chain payment. So
Right.
if we can, I mean, customize that so that if we want that feature, we can implement it in our own way.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
One question.
Yeah.
Other than this.
Yeah.
If I'm making a payment,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a user to email, and I don't have a PayPal account. Do I necessarily create an account before going further, or I can directly use my credit card and then?
So it depends, right? The merchant would have two avenues to pay. If it's a big merchant, it's going to say, okay, do you want to pay with a credit card on my website, or do you want to just go to PayPal? It's really up to the merchant. But I guess the reason I was actually discussing all this is that if you are like a developer who creates an application, it's not going to be easy for you to get that credit card entry on your website because the bar is too high. You know, PCI compliance, because now you're actually collecting sensitive information of a customer on your website. It has to be secured. It has to be, you know, monitored, audited on a timely basis, and even that gateway, whoever is providing you that, you know, ability to process that credit card, has to first trust in your business model, right?
I mean, basically, we have to have some approval processes like pre-testing environments, and again, some companies they block the IPs and all those things. So it's a very cumbersome process.
Yep.
And also the empanelment is very difficult.
Yeah.
We have to set our data center secure, and security audit may.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, bank is not going to give you this for free. Trust me. I mean, they're going to come back every 4 months and saying, give me your audit trails. You know, how many transactions, if there are any vulnerability, you know, on your website, because once that credit card is leaked, you know, they will backtrack and find out where it was leaked. So
Sometimes a legal document would also need to be submitted.
oh yeah, the bank statement, legal document, how much payment volume is flowing through the system. Because I just started this website, you know, my payment, the few payments was like $100. I mean, you know, and it's not that, you know, it's
From that point of view, it is good.
Pay-
I don't need to implement a lot of things.
yeah,
But from a client, there's a client
Yeah. Yeah.
he really need that.
What?
Most of the time,
Read a credit card solution?
most
Good.
of the time they need that.
Good.
Because 90% of people are, I think
No problem, because what's going to happen is you're going to click that link with PayPal. You get to PayPal. On the login page of PayPal, you get a 50-50 split screen. Pay with a credit card or pay with a PayPal. Or neither, if you want to open a PayPal, that's the third entry. So there are 3 entry points. So you're still serving your customers because they're able to pay with a credit card without opening a PayPal account. That's what we refer as guest payments, because there's no relationship, but you're using a credit card. So for you, if you're saying that, hey, you know what, my use case is that I created this application, I want to be able to serve my credit card customers, I want to be able to serve my PayPal customers, I want to be able to have my customers open a PayPal account, we offer all those 3 channels.
Do you still charge these transactions for guest payments?
Yeah, charge means?
Charge means
There's a transaction fee that you would pay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, big time checks. We have this 100 risk checks, or I don't even remember the number now, that happens every time. You guys would send a request, right? Before you get a response, PayPal is going to go and check everything against your account, against your credit, against your, because you're the person who's sending the amount, and the recipient. Because there are restrictions, there are certain countries who cannot accept money from outside countries, right? So let's assume that you open an account in some country in South Africa or Africa, right? You just can't send money to it. Because when you attempt to send money, we will respond back with an error that, hey, restricted country, you can't send money. So yeah, there are a lot of checks. And that's why, I think we have been successful because our fraud losses have been declining. Because we have so much, we improve by the day on the risk engine checks to ensure that, no fraud and all those things happen. And once, we determine, because we have other external agencies also, right, who tells us that, hey, this is something fishy. We put red flags. They're all red flags all over. So we will, block those payments and block that account. So if that person is involved in an illegal activity, then those payments are blocked. Because now we have all that information. It's not that, he's just going to do this and just close the account and walk away. No, we ensure that.
Does people follow the government directives regarding those money donations?
Yeah. So every country we go and enable payment, we have to get approval by that regulatory of that government. So we follow the land of the law. I mean, that's pretty much how payment would work, right? So the rules in the Indian market might be different than Denmark, right? And you guys, for you guys, it could be agnostic because you're going to make a payment as long as that payment is legitimate and then there is no restriction on the sender and the recipient, it's going to happen. But yes, we would have to enable that.
As an application developer, I've got alternate response from my request.
Yeah.
In terms of with the proper information, why it failed. Or
Yeah. We give you information that you would need. We're not going to say that this person is a bad guy, right? We're going to tell them that, hey, this is restricted.
They have to be able to legible on the screen.
Exactly. So you will have enough error code and error messages that you can translate in your language and then display. There was a question? Yes.
If I am the sender and I am a credit card user,
Yeah.
do I have to take some permission from my bank account to?
No. I mean, today if you go today and open a PayPal account and then try and purchase something from eBay, you can just use your credit card on PayPal to purchase that.
Will I get the same whatever bank gives the rewards and all? Will I still be able to get it?
That's something to do with you and your bank. It's nothing to do with PayPal, right? So if your credit card you're spending and the bank said that every 100 rupees you spend, you get 1 point. So that's a relationship between you and credit. PayPal has nothing to do with it. You're just using that as a funding source. So you should be able to get it.
That might be a problem because if it's a company registered as a foreign entity in India, you might not get about point towards a foreign entity. That has to be seen as where the merchant is located. That would be.
Yeah, but that again would be defined by your bank,
Yeah.
not by PayPal. Yeah.
Can I say, for example, if I want to transfer money from India to US,
Yeah.
I will be transferring in rupees, and the receiver will be receiving it in dollars. Is it the case with PayPal, or how does it work?
So the foreign exchange is pretty nominal, whatever that rate is. I mean, our business model is not designed to make money on exchanges, right? So, you are able to send money, but it depends on what currency, because today rupees are not supported at the moment. It will be supported pretty soon, very, very soon. But today, sorry, go ahead.
To some other countries.
If you want to send money
If I
to,
want to send money to US or somewhere else or UK, I can't send.
But you are, right? I mean, if you're buying an item from eBay, let's assume, right? So if you look at it, you're actually pulling money out of your bank, and you're buying that item on eBay, which is in the U.S., so you're making payment. So if you look at it, you are sending money against a merchandise. Now, what you're talking about is a P2P payment, just a money transfer service. So that, again, we have to wait for that. The comment that I made earlier, that we're working with the government, and once that's settled, we will open that channel as well.
So even in that example,
Yeah.
like if you're buying something on eBay,
Yeah.
you are transferring money from India to, say, United States.
Yeah.
So will the government rules come into play in that case as well?
Yeah, because you're using your Indian credit card to buy a foreign item. So basically what's happening is your Indian credit card is going to charge you a foreign exchange fee because that person in the U.S. wants dollars. I mean, he's not going to take other currencies, right? So that rule will play into place. And when you go back to your credit card and statement, you will see. And if you go to PayPal.com and notice, okay, I just paid for this event, that item on eBay, you will see the conversion rate. Yeah.
So coming to the bigger picture of this,
Yeah.
Say for example, I'm launching a merchant site and I want to sell my stuff on that.
Yeah.
So how, suppose I want to link a PayPal account with that particular site. So do you perform some stringent checks to validate the customer, validate the merchant itself first before you actually give them an account?
Yeah, there's a vetting process. There is an onboarding process. I mean, the merchant can't just come in and say, hey, you know what? I want to open this up, right? Yes, for the beta environment, sandbox, you can open and play with funny money, right? You get 1 million, whatever that number is. You can open an account, do everything. But when it comes to real account, there is some onboarding process, but it's way too less. It's not like, when you go to the bank, you got to open up, there's a lot of requirements, not for PayPal.
So as an individual,
Yeah.
Can I think of launching a merchant site without, kind of going through a normal registration process of a business? I need a TIN, I need all those stuff. Basically, can I think about?
You want to accept foreign payments, you need a PAN number?
Yeah.
I'm not finished yet, please. So can I think about starting a business without going through those checks? Will PayPal help me with that?
No, but when you want to enable payment or PayPal for payments, there is as I mentioned, there is a vetting process, which requires you to submit certain documentation. You guys probably can answer me more, but there is some check. But what I'm trying to say is that the bar to get that approval checks is not that high. So if you have two options to choose PayPal or others, PayPal probably would be the least. And depending, let's say that you started off with a Premier account. But once your business is growing, and we realize, because we can see your payment volume, then we will ask you to upgrade to a business account. So it's like a step-by-step procedure. So guys, let me just walk through this real quick, because I want to actually spend the real time, you guys understanding the code snippet, how it is, and that's where the real value of the workshop is. So these are just use cases, right? Gaming, I talked about social networking. Again, gaming platform. You can just be one of these and start taking commissions for the gaming platform. This is the payout disbursement model. You can actually be the sender sending money to multiple recipients. Referral app. This is another one example that you can actually start a website which let's say give recommendation for good books, but the actual purchase is happening on a third-party site, right? So when you send a customer to that third-party site, you have an agreement with that merchant that, hey, every time that customer comes to your site and the conversion is positive, that he ends up buying that book, I need a commission. And that's where you guys can make commission. Rent payout, I already talked about. Quickly, an overview of what happens behind the scene. So let's say this is a rental application. The sender goes to the rental application, right? And he wants to pay the rent. What's happening is that the rental application is making this pay request, and it will define all these different parameters, right? And they will say how much amount, what's the amount, what's the URL, the tracking ID. They can pass all that as a part of the request. And then you will get a response, you get a pay key. So this is the token that identifies that request, right? The entire relationship is now tied to this pay key. Now, once you get the pay key, you want to have the sender go and approve that payment. And that's where the sender is going to go to paypal.com and go through that approval process. Log in, approve, and then come back. Once that approval is done, the money actually moves from the sender's account to that primary recipient account, would be the rental company, and the commission for you guys, you could be one of them. And then, we will send the user back to the rental application, and the notification would go back as well. When the notification goes back, as I mentioned, that IPN logic was stay. You will also get emails. The sender would receive emails. The recipient would receive emails. Now, what is adaptive accounts? So this was all about payments, right? Adaptive accounts. A lot of you guys might be asking, okay, I created this application. I sold it to one of this big, property management company. They're saying everything is great, but they're saying that how many people uses PayPal here? How many customers of mine are using PayPal? That's where adaptive accounts can help, because this is again a web service which can help you open an account behind the scenes. So let's say this customer comes to this rental application and he says, I don't have a PayPal account, but the rental application already has all his information, his address, his name, whatever is needed for the Indian market, right? So all they're doing behind the scene is calling this web service and letting PayPal know, hey, create a PayPal account. Because otherwise, if he goes to PayPal, he would have to go through all those steps to create an account, right? So basically what's happening is the application caller is going to send this request. We will create an account for him, which is inactive at the moment. The only thing that the customer needs to do is choose a password and a security question, because that is sensitive information. Obviously, we can't have that pass through the web service. So he would go to PayPal.com, choose a password, a security question, and he's done. And back he is. Very easy, right? He just opened a PayPal account. And then, he does not have to limit this to her rental payment. He can actually do other stuff with it as well. These are some of the use cases I mentioned. A small business, you can actually create an application for a small business to make a payroll application, right? Small merchants, distribution channels. There's so much trade happening these days. Even if you take an consumer electronic, if you notice the amount of money that flows through the system, it's all very cumbersome. They actually are sitting on cash. This guy comes at the end of the day saying, hey, you know what? I sold these so many things. He's going to take out the cash and give it to him. Not too much traceability. A lot of things, I feel that you can also help the government, because this is all electronic transactions. So it will try and eliminate all these, floating cash. A time is actually coming with the inflation going up by the second. Pretty soon, one of us would be actually taking a pile of money to the grocery store and buying a handful of tomatoes, right? So because the cost of tomatoes are going to be so much expensive, and inflation is just going to fill up your bag. So electronic, money is the way for the future. So you guys may want to keep an eye on that. And also what it does is it just does not create an account. You can also add a credit card through a web service, right? You just created an account and you said, hey, you know what? Why if you want to add a credit card because this rental company or rental application has a credit card on file, we will just add it to your profile. So while sitting on their application, he's now adding his credit card. He created an account. He can also, add bank, and then also do a verify account status. So you can say that if this account is legitimate or not, if that's an additional web service that you can offer. Now, obviously, there are some restrictions depending on which tier you qualify, but most of it is available. Now, I guess this is where I would probably want to hand over to Ranga. And Ganesh, I think, is also going to come, or is it just you for now? Who's going to actually show you everything in action, the code snippet, the technical details. So I will still be around. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ping me. I will also be probably around for an hour after the session.